So, sitting here with Sujith, I practiced that a couple of times. Did I pronounce it right?
It was precisely how Indians would call it. Yeah.
What does that name mean, Sujith?
It's got a number of meanings in Sanskrit, but the one that I relate to most, at least at an aspirational level, is a person with consciousness.
Okay, so it's like Bodhi. What does that mean again? The enlightened one, or
yeah, Bodhisattva, or you talk about the Bodhi is like the enlightened spirits.
Yeah.
That is Pali.
What's that?
One of the Sanskrit languages.
We can check your working.
Okay. All right.
We're here in your dressing room. There's going to be a talk you give this evening.
Yes.
What are you going to tell the Dutch people?
I'm not going to so much tell people. I'm going to get them to explore themselves. And the exploration will be around two questions. One is around the Dharma question, the purpose, the highest life purpose, the reason why I'm born. I believe that you, Patrick, me, Sujith, all of us, we are all born with a very specific reason. And I'm going to take these individuals through some exploration to connect, perhaps come a bit closer to that self-realization. The other question is around the personal mission. The question of how do we manifest our purpose? Like you, when I'm speaking with you, I'm getting the sense that your purpose that you feel so passionate about is about connecting other people to their source, to help them awaken and realize. And you're doing that, you're manifesting that purpose through your radio work, through your recordings of messengers. Those are different ways in which you're manifesting.
Yeah. We zitten hier midden in een interview. Oh, yeah,
all right, okay.
Yes.
All right, okay.
We're going to close the door.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Medina. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to lock ourselves.
But the knock we cannot do anything about, right?
No. It's a living thing.
Yes.
Okay, let me see if the purpose of life for me. So it's a personal thing.
It is a very personal thing. 7 billion people on the planet today. Every one of them have got a very unique life purpose. Very unique. Of course, at the highest level, that life purpose can all be encompassed under self-realization and service. But within that, you as Patrick, what is it that you're contributing to humanity, to the universe, to the higher good, is specifically your purpose. Mm-hmm. And in this event, I'm going to help individuals do some self-examination on these questions.
But is that something that has to be taught, or is it something that you feel inside what your purpose is? Do you bring that purpose to the surface?
Lovely question. First, it's internal to me. As a child, I look around me at the little kids, and I see these kids already expressing, communicating what their purpose is. Every one of us, we are born with that realization. We know within us what the purpose is. Now, what was the second part of the question?
Is it something that can be learned, what your purpose is, or is it something that comes from inside? That
It is coming from inside.
Yeah.
We know it inside. Now, is that realization going to happen in just 3.5 hours here? It took me, after I became an adult, and I kind of went on my personal, material, physical pursuits in life. Mm-hmm. I reached a certain moment in my life where I was like, okay, what is really the reason why I'm born? And I had to go back to my teachers. And my journey of self-examination took me about 7 years.
7 years?
7 years. Before I came back to this crystal clear realization, like the kind of realization that I was born with,
Mm-hmm.
that awareness that I was born with about why I'm born. It took me 7 years to actually go back and reconnect that. Now, so it is, for some individuals, it can be a long journey. I've met individuals in my life who have kind of lived until they were 87 and died without ever truly finding their answer to the reason why they were born.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of sit and chat with them, and I understand they spend their whole life being somebody that they were not truly passionate about being. You know, they were fathers, they became mothers, they did a 9-to-5 job for 35-40 years, all because it was some kind of a pre-scripted script for them. They had to go to college, they had to graduate, after that they had to find a 9-to-5 job. At 30 they had to move in with a partner. By 35 they had to have 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow they followed a social prescription, and then they retired, and still the dreams that they had about wanting to become an architect or to design gardens remained just an aspiration, and then they passed on their body without truly fully expressing their heartfelt passion.
Yeah.
That also happens.
But is there something wrong with that?
No.
On the big scheme of things, there are billions of people.
Excellent quest, excellent thought. I'm somebody who believes, Patrick, that everybody is in a perfect place where they are. And I'm not saying this by being narcissistic. You know, this morning I was listening to the news, and I was watching some recording of some of the tragedies going on in Syria.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people making their supreme sacrifice, their noble sacrifice to uphold the dignity of humanity. They're doing that. It's not a pleasant place to be. It's fraught with fear and pain and traumas and all that. So when I say everybody is in a perfect place where they're meant to be, I don't mean to be narcissistic. You know, we are both at this moment in a very, very safe place.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, our journey of life is such that, you know, we will attract to ourselves experiences. Sometimes we'll be filled with inexplicable joy, but sometimes it'll be filled with pain, with trauma, the experience of losing somebody who is really dear to us. I believe that is part of this journey of life. And to come back to this specific question, if there's an individual who kind of lived a social prescription, and that person was content with that, as you say in Dutch, zo zal het zijn.
Mm-hmm.
That's perfect. But those individuals do not come to one of my talks, my seminars, one of my lectures. The individuals you will notice who fill that room are going to be individuals who are in this deep reflection about, is this the meaning of life?
Mm-hmm.
Is this it? Or is there something grander? Is there something greater? Is there something higher than what I'm living today or who I'm seeing today on the mirror? Those are the individuals who are very deep in that reflection who will turn up. So it is completely by their own volition that they're here. Mm-hmm. And I look at myself just as an instrument of taking them through a little self-reflection.
I once heard one teacher say that the purpose of life is living.
Mm.
Is it the mind that puts on labels to that everything we do has to have meaning? Could you say that if just living means making music or doing these talks, does it have to have meaning, all the things you do?
Oh, lovely question, Patrick. Now, how does it feel for you is your truth. Now, there's a I'm reminded of a great question. You know, in India, the teachings are handed down through stories. You know, so that also is really a part of me, you know, storytelling. I'm just reminded of this little story. Once, you know, there was in a village, there was a temple on top of a hill. And every morning, the cleaner, you know, the person who cleans the temple, goes up early morning, cleans the temple, and comes down. And at that time, the priest will go up with his holy water and the flowers and all that to start, you know, worshipping the god. Now one day, the janitor, the cleaner was finished. He finished his cleaning and he was walking down, and the priest was walking up with his holy water and the flowers, etc. And the janitor was thirsty, so he asked the priest, "I'm thirsty. Can I have some of the water?" And the priest, you know, having his highest purpose being to worship God, to be in the presence of God, to serve God, the priest said, "Sorry, this water is not for you. It's for the God." And he kind of walks up with the water, enters the temple, and God is waiting there for him. And God says like, "So what's your purpose?" And the priest he spends a few seconds thinking and then says, "My purpose is to serve you, to worship you." And God says, "I just was on your path a few minutes back, asking for some water, and you declined to serve me." The message in that story is, you know, our purpose at this moment is to be in connectedness, to explore some thoughts together, to grow that 1 extra inch in this moment. This is being here and now, choicefully. I'm not handcuffed to be here. I'm here out of my pure joy and passion, wanting to be with you. And I sense you're also here because of your passion to capture messages from messengers. We are willfully here now in this moment. This is our purpose in this moment. As long as you and I, we feel the contentment of this moment, perfect. We are living our purpose.
So could you say you're living your purpose when you feel satisfaction, or is satisfaction something for the ego and the mind-made self? What's the difference between satisfaction and fulfillment? Or you had the word contentment. Is there a difference?
To me, there is a slight difference. You know, let me try to pull that apart. Let me ask you, Patrick. When you drink a Coke, does that give you pleasure?
Sometimes.
All right. Okay.
But I'm now thirsty, so
All right.
it satisfies me.
Okay. Now, do you like chocolates?
Yes.
You do. When you have a chocolate, does it satisfy you?
Most of the time, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, that is the nature of pleasure. Pleasure has got an external reference. Like when I meet somebody who's close to my heart, I feel pleasure. When I have an ice cream or a candy bar or some nice food or play some games, whatever, I feel pleasure. Pleasure has got an external reference. Happiness, on the other hand, or contentment as I used it, has no such external reference. It's our state of being. Like when we were born as this pure, precious, priceless, non-local being, we were born in that state of happiness. We were born happy. Happiness is not a transactional thing. It's a state.
Natural state.
Natural state. You know, in technical terms, default setting.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Now, my teachings reminded me that this non-local, non-referential type of contentment, which is not connected to a Coke or a candy bar. That happiness, it's the yardstick, is a thermometer, a barometer, a yardstick of me living in expression of my spirit, my highest purpose. Then I will just inexplicably feel happy. You know, what we call this bliss. You know, suddenly you feel like you even don't recognize it, Patrick. You know, you have a smile on your face.
Without a reason.
Without a reason.
Yeah.
And folks around you, they kind of look at you and, hey, Patrick, what's going on?
Yeah.
You know, that is state of bliss. You can't really give a particular reason why you are in that place. But as newborn babies, as little kids, you're just in that place. And for me, that is dharma. You know, when I'm in expression of my dharma, that's how I am.
Could you say that bliss can be found in the world? It can only be brought to the world, or you can bring it into the world. You can't get it out of things.
Lovely. I see two aspects to that. You know, I love the depth of your question, Patrick. Like I said, bliss is internal. It has no external reference. It's purely internal. Now, you know, there's an English saying: when you share joy, it multiplies. When you share pain, it halves. Now, I love that. You know, I love that because there is so much powerful wisdom in it. That look at the happy people in your life, Patrick. They never ask for anything. They just open their heart and give. That also is part of our nature, our default setting.
Giving.
Giving. Choiceful giving. Not giving because, you know, it makes you feel guilty otherwise. Like, hey, you know, you're going to join me in the seminar. If you don't join me, it's going to make you feel guilty because you made a commitment and you don't turn up. That is not the compulsion. Choiceful giving for me is out of my own choice, my longing of my inner source. I'm doing something, or I'm being somebody. That is choiceful giving. Choiceful giving is completely part of my true nature.
For everybody.
Yes, for every being on the planet, for every spirit.
But is that also the living truth when you live in, let's for example say Syria, war? Is that then you go on taking because it's the last bread on the shelf? How does that work?
Now, what we see in Syria is such a powerful lesson for whole of humanity. And I'm only hoping that we collectively, you and me and those around us, we will collectively learn from, you know, what's going on there. That we shouldn't be stuck in the future in a similar situation for us to learn our lessons. Unfortunately or fortunately, many of the people that we meet in our daily lives are individuals who do not learn from other people's lives, other people's experiences. It seems that a lot of us have lost that ability to do that. Now, what we see in Syria is very, very primitive, you know, that struggle for survival. You know, that's very human about that. You know, the self-preservation part of us. You know, if there's only one loaf of bread and two of us, there is a chance that we are going to fight with each other to have that loaf of bread. Because we both want to survive. And because that is the reason why we hold an ego for self-preservation reasons. And that yearning of the ego is survival, self-preservation. Part of that would be we would battle each other to get that loaf of bread. And we see that in many parts of the world happening. And that shouldn't be how it is, you know, because we live in a universe which is abundant. But look at the inequity we have created today, the economic crisis, the financial crisis. We talk about, there's this big talk about in the West about the 1% and the other 99%.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah, the 1% that owns all the riches.
Yes.
Yeah.
They hold 80% of wealth.
Yeah, but does that make them happy?
Oh, I am, Patrick, one of the blessings that I've received in my life is I coach business and political leaders. People who are on top of corporations, or people who are passionate about wanting to serve humanity in a political sense. And there is no equation between the pursuit of wealth or pursuit of success and the contentment that comes out of that. There is no connection. And many of these individuals that I coach are individuals who've been in that place, who had solid material abundance.
Yeah. Big house, big car, swimming pool,
yacht,
yeah,
and all of that, fancy vacations, but feeling, so scarce inside, so empty within. And I support them in coming to that realization.
Could you say, Sujith, that creating is the biggest fulfillment in the world? Or I find that when I'm a little bit down or something, when I create something, make a little thing on YouTube, or write a little thing, or make a nice picture, it brings joy. It's apart from creating, what is more a useful way of contributing to the world?
You tell me, Patrick, if you would just take a few seconds, and point out to me you use the word contribution. 3 contributions, choiceful contributions that you like making to the world. I mean, choiceful contribution. What would those 3 be?
Laughter, happiness, and a good atmosphere.
So you want to contribute a good atmosphere. You want to be that good atmosphere and share that with others. Lovely. It's that works for you, and that's beautiful.
But not for everybody.
Could be. Only at the highest level, I can say that what makes us truly, truly fulfilled is, in India we say, the expression is Atma Mokshartham Jagat Hitayacha. That's 2 parts.
I recognize Atman.
Yeah. So that is self-realization. Atma Mokshartham is self-realization. And the second part is Jagat Hitayacha, that is the service to all, to the universe. These are at the umbrella level for any being, manifested being, that encompasses the purpose that brings this deepest fulfillment.
So you're not here on earth for yourself, but for others, I hear you say.
That self-realization part is your own personal inner thing. All right? The service is this beautiful, joyful act of choiceful giving. There's nothing more incredibly fulfilling than that. When I can choicefully give, like I'm going to be there in front of these people, and you will just have to watch how deeply I'll radiate in that space. Simply because I am embodying my mission. And I don't want anything in return for that. I just want those individuals to gain a bit more clarity when they walk away.
And could you say that that is something contagious, that they will radiate that too, in the workplace or at home? Or?
Totally.
Yeah.
That is one of the greatest reasons why I've zoomed into supporting business and political leaders, because if you can reach out and touch the life of one individual who's kind of in a senior position, it's amazing the difference you start observing in the environment around him or her, or under that person in the organization, in the hierarchy. It's amazing how contagious it is. It's totally.
So next you're going to visit our Prime Minister tomorrow, Mark Rutte? Or
You know, I've actually met Mark a number of years back.
okay.
Not when he was Prime Minister, but a time much before that. And
Was he open to this kind of message?
yeah, you know, in fact, I found an amazing openness about Mark that left me very admirational about him. So never had the opportunity to really go deeper into this chat. But if it's meant to be, then we will be talking with each other. But having said that, not during the last Dutch ministry, but the term before, there was a certain political individual that I was coaching. And I had a lot of admiration for him. He had such a genuine passion for service. And I feel that he left quite a legacy behind.
Yeah.
And
is it a famous politician?
it is somebody that you would all know.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what's the first letter of his first name?
Never mind.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, if he would like to come forward and speak about his journey, I welcome
Yeah.
that.
I'd love to talk some more with you.
Yeah.
In the second part of our interview, I would love to talk about India because that fascinates me a
All right.
lot.
Sure, let's do that. And I'll get some water.
Sitting here with Sujith Ravindran.
That's correct.
Hey, I pronounce it good.
Perfectly.
For the second part of our little talk here, India, the country you were born, you were raised.
Yes.
Is there such a thing as free will in India, or do people laugh when you talk about free will, ego? Are those things which are talked about in growing up in India?
Definitely.
Yeah.
But I want to understand first from you, Patrick, what is your understanding of free will?
That you first make a choice. I chose to come to this place. Now I choose my words carefully, talking to you. And then I choose to sit like this, and now I bow my head. And us Dutch people and European people is taught that everything you do, you first internally make a choice doing it. But there are some scientists and people who talk about this stuff who say, well, there is no one who is choosing. There's just stuff happening. So I'm interested in how is that in India? What do people say about that? What do you say about it?
Now, you know, it's let me share with you my context of free will. You see, I'm here today in this body, 40 years old. Now, I've had this conditioning just in this lifetime. And I'm not welcoming you to even believe that there are past lives or reincarnation. That's all right. Just focusing on where we are today in our body, in our lifetime, this lifetime. You know, over 40 years I've been conditioned in certain ways. And now, are we free? Like every time I instinctively, you know, put my hand up when I'm coughing. It's become a habit. Now, would you call that as being free will?
No, conditioning. Someone, your mother probably or your father said, hey, put a hand before your mouth when you cough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of things that we do are like that. Like, you know, maybe when I'm nervous, the thing I do is maybe, you know, play with my nose. Don't know. Now, either ways, most of what we do, almost all of what we do, is a conditioned activity, a conditioned doingness. Now, that is not free will. And that is part of our human conditioning. When we can truly, through awareness, transcend that conditioning, and make a choice out of spirit. Then, like kids do, little kids, they're not conditioned. Of course, they also carry a lot of their memories from the past. But having said that, they are so much more a clean slate than I am.
Yeah.
And they kind of truly operate from that voice. It's not instinctive, it's more intuitional. And that refers to free will as we understand and practice it in India.
So the free will is the intuitive voice inside that gives
Following that.
following that.
Yes. And the reason why I asked free will, being willed with that source. Having said that, I've been amused with the different kind of interpretations and definitions, and all of that are perfect, all right, because your interpretation, Patrick, serves you best. So the kind of interpretation you have of free will is ideal for who you are, where you are in this journey of life. Now, I've been amused to also see people draw a distinction between free will and God's will. And God's will being that following spirit, and free will being following your egoic conditioning. Individuals who have just a different definition. In my case, that God's will is truly free will, because it's not an external God out there compelling us. It is that godliness within me that is asking me or welcoming me to operate in divinity. So that God's will for me is really the free will in the definition of many people that I've met. Just wanted to kind of discriminate it to give you a little understanding of how I grew up learning.
But does the ego have any power over me?
Good question. What do you feel, Patrick?
Well, when I listen to it, when I focus my attention on the wants of the ego, and then it has power. Yeah.
Beautiful. It's my choice whether I should relinquish my power to my ego or not. Now, some very simple ways, simple feelings through which ego expresses itself is through fear, guilt, and shame. Now, I'm reminded of a story, of an experience like a couple of years back. I was in Durban, South Africa, and I was offering an event, and this lady just stood up and she burst out crying. She was in such deep pain, and I did not know the sources and the triggers of that pain, but I could just sense the deep pain, and everybody in the room could. Now, after a while, when she started to settle down, she made a statement to us. She said, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted of giving and giving and giving to my children, to my husband, to my parents, to my relatives. I'm tired. And I looked at her, and my heart opened in compassion, She used the word giving, but it wasn't true giving.
Giving and returning something, or expecting something in return.
There of course was a payoff. Unconsciously, the person was seeking. And in this individual's case, what was happening is she was being driven by fear, guilt, and shame. If she doesn't give and give and give until she's completely run down, to her kids, if she doesn't give, she felt guilty. So she was giving out of guilt. Oh, I'm not being a good mother if I don't give. To her husband, it was all coming out of shame, because her husband wanted to remind her, or at least she used to carry this shame that I'm not being a good wife. And that insufficiency that somebody feels in that being, in the state of being, is shame. So she was kind of being driven by her fear of being rejected by others, fear of being judged by others, the guilt of not doing enough for the kids, the shame of not being a good wife for her husband. Those were the things that were propelling her to give. Do you feel, Patrick, from this story about this lady, that she was being in her true power in that act of giving?
No. Well, Oprah Winfrey once called it the disease to please.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. It's all about still the me.
Yeah.
The me who feels guilty, shameful. What was the third?
Guilt, fear.
Fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
But what to do then? It's the only way we know how to get rid of those.
No, not you, Patrick. You know, you're smarter than that. You are more conscious than that.
Well, but I run around the world for a lot of years, telling everybody how good I was because I didn't think I was good. So you think you have to tell the world I'm good, but you have to tell yourself, or just don't believe the thought you're not good enough.
What happens to me, Patrick? Just to touch upon that, what happens to me the moment I need your appreciation or your validation for me to feel good? What am I feeling inside?
Yeah, pain or
shame.
Shame. Yeah.
With my own being, if I'm not in self-love, that is shame manifesting. It is my ego manifesting itself, my egoic conditioning manifesting itself through shame. Now, this lady, she wasn't being in her power. She was a very important person in the lives of her two daughters, her husband, her parents. Very, very indispensable person. But now that I've shared this story with you, do you feel that she was in her true power?
No.
Now, that is definitely for me not being in my power when I'm driven by my conditioning. Now, for me, here and now, at this very moment, free from all my conditioning, what is it that I want to do? What is my higher self yearning to do?
Yeah.
That is me expressing my true inner power.
But that could be being a good mother or being a good wife, but not out of your own reasoning or your own...
Out of fear, guilt, or shame.
Yeah.
No.
Sujith, is there such a thing as a healthy ego, or is ego? It's a mechanism for this body that it cleans itself and it takes up a little space in traffic and stuff like that. But it's such a big thing in these kind of talks. But is there? What's a healthy ego? How do I recognize a healthy ego?
That's a very, very subtle question, and the beautiful thing about this question is we recognize the ego. All right. Now, two thoughts come to my mind. One is, there is a healthy ego. In our human embodiment, we are here with the ego. And that is what ensures our self-preservation. Now, when our egoic conditioning becomes not good, when we are stuck to our identity, I, me, myself, being separate from you, Patrick, when I experience that duality or multiplicity, already I am trapped in my ego. Now, if I can simply, like a baby, look at a baby, two legitimate yearnings of a baby is one, food, water, safety, and two, affection. That's it. Now,
it needs that for survival also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that is also the yearning of the egoic self. And that is very legitimate. When we get beyond that, and you got a Porsche or a Ferrari, that you absolutely, not because you want to go from A to B, but because you want to be seen as somebody exceptional. That is your ego expressing. When I am going around carrying a Louis Vuitton or Gucci, whatever, that is my ego trying to express my distinctiveness, my identity. That is when ego has gone overboard. Now, having said that, the second thought that comes to my mind is these past 20 years, and I've been traveling through so many countries. I'm extremely fortunate to be able to live this longing of spirit to connect and to experience different cultures and people. One of the things that I've often encountered is this polarized relationship with the ego. You know, I'm hearing people say things like, I want to bludgeon my ego to death. And I'm kind of like, reminded, wow, that's kind of a battle cry.
Let's see who's stronger, my ego or me. Yeah,
it's part of me.
Yeah,
I must not try to bludgeon it to death. I must not try to obliterate it. Yeah, I must lovingly embrace it.
So ego means good. I mean, it's not the enemy. It tells you things like, get that bigger car. You get more attention from the ladies.
If I consider my ego, Patrick, to be my enemy, essentially, who is my enemy?
Yeah, the other ones, the world.
I.
Yeah. I am my enemy.
Yes. When I am in a hateful relationship with my ego, who am I hating?
Yeah. Yourself. Yeah.
That's what I am.
Yeah.
And do I want to live my life every day being in this battle?
A war zone.
Yeah.
Inside your head.
Yes.
So getting rid of ego is a stupidest thing to do.
Lovingly integrating it.
Yeah.
You know, there are some teachings that I've come across where people tell about life being a constant battle between good and evil. That's not my reality.
No.
Now, you know what? The couple of days back, I had a certain lady very vocally express her dissatisfaction with Donald Trump.
The big businessman from America. Yeah.
Now, Donald seemed to be having some policies and philosophies and principles in his life that goes against her principles. Now, I don't want to be a judge of Donald's principles or her principles, but she was being so ferocious about her point of view that, you know what, he should be hanged.
Oh.
And she had all the noble intentions that women should be considered equal, and gluttony and greed and the pursuit of wealth at any cost is destroying humanity and the planet, all of that. She had some noble principles that was driving her. But when I was being a witness of this person, I was aghast. Wow. Now, she wants to travel the higher road, but what she's doing in that process, with that battle cry, with that inner conflict, that rage, that energy of wanting to fight and kill, she was actually traveling a low road.
Yeah.
And I had to ask her, now, do you believe from that place of rage, of hatred, of bitterness, you will ever be able to transform Donald Trump?
What did she say?
She didn't say anything,
No.
but I knew she got it.
Yeah. That's a great story.
Isn't it?
Finally, Sujith, thank you for your time. Can you tell us something about the things you do on the internet? The Blue Academy?
Blue Temple Academy.
Blue Temple,
Yeah.
Temple Academy. What's that about?
Oh, it's just a label. It's an academy, a virtual academy. It's an academy through which I offer my service to humanity. That involves this great opportunity, this great gift of being able to go to these 9 countries, share my little bit, inspire people to kind of embark on their path of growth. And so all my seminars, all my workshops, all my talks, all fall under that umbrella of the Blue Temple Academy.
And how many times do you visit Holland? Once a year?
Once a year, every autumn.
Every autumn?
Every autumn I'm in Europe, and at that time I'll be in 6 countries.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to visit Germany maybe?
Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Netherlands, Italy, and UK.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in India, do you talk about these things?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
You coach people from businesses and...
Yes, I do.
Yeah. I think you are needed inside the room to test some more. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much, Patrick.
Hope to see you again.
I appreciate the effort.
Thank you.
Thank you.